She was riding high back in 2007. The former Grey's Anatomy star not only won an Emmy Award for Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series that year, she also began transitioning over to the big screen with her successful starring turn in Judd Apatow's Knocked Up.
Katherine Heigl was one of the familiar and constant faces in Grey's Anatomy, appearing in over 123 episodes. But in Season 6, Heigl left abruptly, leaving viewers with more questions than answers. Since her abrupt exit, many have wondered what the exact reason was, and the answer stayed evasive until now. Just recently, Katherine Heigl finally confessed the real reason she left Grey's Anatomy. And that confession hits a lot harder when you look back at how suddenly everything unfolded. So why did Katherine Heigl leave the show? Does her departure have anything to do with creative conflicts or something far worse? Join us as we get into all the details. The idea behind Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy didn't start as a billion-dollar empire. It started as an itch Shonda Rhimes couldn't ignore, a need to build a world she would actually watch. She imagined smart, ambitious women colliding in a place where ego, brilliance, and pressure lived side by side. Real surgeons, she realized, didn't just operate. They gossiped, argued, laughed, and cried while cutting someone open. If the operating room could hold life and death, it could also hold secrets, rivalries, and every messy human emotion TV had long avoided. ABC wanted a medical drama, but one that didn't look like everything else on air. Rhimes gave them a show that slowed the chaos just enough to let viewers fall into the characters' lives. Those quiet moments between surgeries, the stolen glances, the conversations behind masks and scrubs, this intimacy became the heartbeat of Grey's Anatomy. By March 2005, when it premiered as a mid-season replacement for Boston Legal, early screenings made one thing clear. This was no ordinary hospital show. It had a pulse of its own. Casting followed the same instinct. Race wasn't predetermined. Archetypes weren't allowed. Ellen Pompeo became Meredith Grey because she carried the quiet gravity Rhimes envisioned. Sandra Oh fought for Christina Yang, reshaping the series' dynamic. Patrick Dempsey fit Derek Shepherd as if written for him. Chandra Wilson transformed Miranda Bailey from a tiny blonde into the commanding force she became. Alex Karev wasn't even in the pilot. He was added later because the story demanded someone with an edge. Rhimes pushed for women who could be brilliant, angry, flawed, competitive, and fully human. The title carried double meaning. Grey's Anatomy nodded to Henry Gray's classic medical textbook while tipping its hat to Meredith Grey. Every episode, named after a song, created rhythm and emotion, with rare departures like 1-800-799-7233, honoring the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Early screenings showed friends and family a glimpse of the pilot, and though it was slated for just 4 weeks, ratings and audience connection forced ABC to keep it. Grey's Anatomy wasn't just a story about surgery. It became a story about survival, ambition, love, and how messy humans become when the scalpel is down and emotions rise. Every casting choice reflected Rhimes' vision of authenticity. Most roles had no racial or physical template. Katherine Heigl retained her natural blonde for Izzy Stevens. Isaiah Washington was cast as Preston Burke after schedule conflicts reshuffled the original plan. T.R. Knight embraced George O'Malley because the role offered depth. Alex Karev came later through editing and extra scenes. Overall, Rhimes focused on the emotions and qualities actors could bring. But while Grey's Anatomy thrived on authenticity, life behind the cameras was another ballgame entirely, and in no situation was that more obvious as in the case of Isaiah Washington. Isaiah Washington. When Isaiah Washington left Grey's Anatomy after only 3 seasons, it sent a shockwave through the entire fan base. Isaiah Washington played Dr. Preston Burke on the series. Burke wasn't some side character you could quietly fade out. He was central, complicated, and deeply tied to Christina's arc. So when he vanished right as the show was hitting its stride, viewers knew something was off. And they were right. His exit wasn't creative, and it definitely wasn't voluntary. It was the fallout of a behind-the-scenes storm that had been building for months. It all traced back to a confrontation on set during season 3, when Washington allegedly used a homophobic slur while arguing with Patrick Dempsey. The slur was directed at T.R. Knight, but at the time the argument broke out, T.R. Knight wasn't even present on set. But the moment the story leaked, everything around that cast shifted. Knight, in a bid to stay ahead of the whole situation, quickly revealed publicly that he was gay, a decision he made because rumors were already spreading that the media might out him first. Washington eventually apologized, but the damage was already done. But it didn't stop there. Things escalated again at the Golden Globes when Washington joked about the controversy. After the cast won Best Drama, Washington doubled down and publicly denied ever using the slur, even though Knight later stated that everyone on set heard him. Suddenly, what should have been a career-high moment for the show spiraled into something no one could ignore. The studio rebuked him, and soon counseling followed. Plans were quietly made for Washington's return. But by the time June 2007 arrived, ABC had made its choice to not renew Washington's contract. Washington, of course, did not take this well, as his response was explosive. He borrowed the famous "I'm mad as hell" line from Network, talked about stepping away to do charity work in Sierra Leone, and later insisted racism in the media fueled the narrative surrounding his firing. He even took his story to Larry King Live, claiming the slur had been misunderstood, claiming the argument with Dempsey had provoked his words. He also claimed Knight had misrepresented what happened because he was disappointed in how his character was being treated. But at the end of the day, none of it changed the outcome. Washington's career after Grey's never fully recovered. He bounced between guest appearances and short-lived shows, watching the momentum he once had slip away. And yet, in a twist no one expected, Preston Burke resurfaced in season 10. He appeared with a thriving career and an offer that would define Christina Yang's future: Sandra Oh. Sandra Oh's exit from Grey's Anatomy didn't explode in controversy like Isaiah Washington's, but it definitely hit with a different kind of weight for fans. Till today, there will be two moments forever etched in memory, and the first is Patrick Dempsey's exit, and the second being Sandra Oh's own exit. Sandra Oh's character left Grey Sloan Memorial to pursue a career at the prestigious cardiothoracic hospital founded by Burke. Leaving wasn't exactly easy for Sandra. Patrick Dempsey admitted he had been there too long, but Christina's departure demanded far more than simply walking away. In 2013, she told The Hollywood Reporter that she was eager to explore new creative challenges. "Creatively, I really feel like I gave it my all, and I feel ready to let her go," she said, barely holding back her emotion. "It's such an interesting thing to play a character for so long and actually get the sense that she wants to be let go as well. Christina wants to be let go, and I am ready to let her go." The decision had been years in the making. By March 2012, while the rest of the original 6 were signing new 2-year contracts, Sandra had already begun to seriously consider moving on. She went to therapy over the choice, giving herself 2 full years to emotionally untangle from a role that had defined her life. "I want to cry right now. Grey's has been the most important role of my life," she admitted, exposing the raw mix of love, fear, and attachment that accompanied leaving. Shonda Rhimes called Sandra's departure bittersweet, hinting at how deeply she would miss the actress who had shaped Christina with trust, faith, and friendship. Even years later, Sandra made it clear she wasn't returning. By 2018, speaking to Variety, she insisted she needed to create a separation from Christina. "I'm just going to say no," she said. "I've really got to try and create much more of that separation." Since stepping away, Sandra has flourished creatively, taking on Killing Eve, American Crime, Peg Plus Cat, Tammy, and co-producing Window Horses. Yet despite all her new successes, to Grey's fans, she will always be Christina Yang, Meredith Grey's person, the friend, rival, and heart of the show, whose brilliance, fire, and loyalty left a mark no other role could ever erase. Patrick Dempsey. Patrick Dempsey's exit from Grey's Anatomy in 2015 came as a shock to a lot of fans, but behind the scenes the tension had been building for years. By season 11, the charm of McDreamy had begun to clash with the reality of long hours and creative strain. Former executive producer James D. Parriott revealed that Dempsey had created a tense atmosphere on set, to the point where some cast members felt like they were on edge, even experiencing what he described as a kind of PTSD. He had a holdover production, and when conflicts with Shonda Rhimes and fellow cast members escalated, it became clear that both the show and the actor were at a breaking point. There were moments of friction with Ellen Pompeo as well. Pompeo, who played his on-screen wife, often found herself frustrated by Dempsey's complaints about his schedule, while she managed twice as many scenes. Crew members remembered pointing out the hours everyone else put in, but Dempsey's exhaustion was real. 11 years of unpredictable schedules, 15-hour days, and 10-month stretches on set had taken a toll. The pressure of balancing work with family life left him drained, and while he had considered leaving earlier alongside Sandra Oh, he returned for the financial security, only to reach his limit eventually. Shonda Rhimes watched the mounting strain firsthand. The tension between her and Dempsey finally reached a point where she had to make a decision, telling the network that if Dempsey didn't go, she would. No one wanted him to leave. He was the face of the show alongside Pompeo, but the environment had become unsustainable. Dempsey admitted that his departure was a natural progression, that the story had reached its tipping point, and that it was simply the right time for him to walk away. Filming his final scenes added another layer of intensity. Episode 21 of Season 11, where Derek Shepherd dies in a car accident, was shot at a creepy, abandoned hospital in Hawthorne, California, rather than the regular studio. Actors signed non-disclosure agreements to keep the death a secret, heightening the tension and surreal atmosphere on set. Costume designer Mimi Melgard described the location as haunting, with the eerie environment making the emotional weight of the scenes even heavier. Dempsey's farewell was quiet and understated, marked by rain that lent a cinematic poignancy to his last moments on set. The departure also marked a turning point for Pompeo. With Dempsey gone, she seized the opportunity to renegotiate her contract, stay with the show, and actively work to shift the culture on set. She wanted to transform the environment into a happier place, something that had never truly existed before. Despite the friction and drama of his exit, any ill feelings eventually eased. Dempsey made a jaw-dropping return in Season 17, appearing in dream sequences with Pompeo. T.R. Knight. The death of George O'Malley in Grey's Anatomy's 6th season landed like a gut punch for fans. George, the earnest, loyal, sometimes awkward intern who had grown into a skilled surgeon and Izzy Stevens' closest friend, seemed finally to have found his place in medicine. But just as he prepared to leave Seattle Grace to join the U.S. Army in Iraq, fate intervened in the cruelest way. On his way home, George jumped in front of a bus to save a stranger's life, leaving him severely disfigured. The trauma was so extreme that none of the doctors at Gray Sloan recognized him. Only when he traced the 007 Meredith had written on her hand did they realize who their mysterious patient was. Surgery could not save him. His brain fatally swelled, and George O'Malley's story ended in tragedy. Behind the scenes, the reasons for his exit were just as complex. T.R. Knight's departure in Season 6 was shaped by mounting creative frustrations and a breakdown in communication with Shonda Rhimes. He struggled with the direction his character was heading, particularly George's storyline that involved cheating on Callie Torres with Izzy. Feeling disconnected from the creative process, Knight asked to be released from his contract, and George's death became the definitive, if abrupt, narrative solution. The actor later reflected that there comes a time when it's clear moving on is the best choice, and in that moment, leaving Grey's Anatomy felt necessary. Though his death shocked audiences, it also left an opening for later redemption. George's presence lingered in the show long after Season 6. In Season 15, he returned in a Day of the Dead episode, appearing as a ghost to Meredith Grey through archived footage. The gesture was brief but poignant, reminding viewers of George's lasting imprint on the series. Then, in Season 17, T.R. Knight reprised his role in one of Meredith's unconscious visions while battling, revisiting the moment of George's death alongside other figures central to her life. His reappearance was crafted to provide closure for fans who had felt his storyline ended too abruptly. Dane. Eric Dane's departure from Grey's Anatomy came at the start of Season 9, leaving fans reeling as Dr. Mark Sloan, aka McSteamy, succumbed to injuries sustained in the devastating plane crash that closed out Season 8. Mark had been a force on the show since the end of Season 2, introduced as a guest star whose charm and complexity quickly earned him a permanent spot by Season 3. Over 6 seasons, he became a fan favorite, a surgeon whose confidence and charisma often masked vulnerability. But when the story demanded it, after Lexie Grey's tragic death, killing Mark felt inevitable for the writers and Shonda Rhimes, who recognized that he would never fully recover from such a loss. Dane didn't exactly choose to leave the series. At the time, he was wrestling with addiction and the pressures that come with sudden fame. He admitted that while his struggles didn't directly cause his exit, they didn't help, and that after years on the show, he had become expensive for the network. The decision to write him off wasn't dramatic or ceremonial. It wasn't a formal firing, but a quiet realization that he wouldn't be returning. Shonda Rhimes, he acknowledged, handled it with care, protecting him and the cast publicly and privately during that difficult transition. The intense spotlight had taken its toll. Dane revealed that during his time on Grey's Anatomy, the surge in fame had been overwhelming. Even though he had joined the show sober for several years, the combination of public scrutiny, long hours, and personal pressures contributed to a relapse, and he struggled to navigate the delicate balance between reality and the world his character inhabited. Dane reflected that in hindsight, much of his time on the show was marked by personal turmoil, overshadowing periods of sobriety and clarity. Mark Sloan's death didn't mark the end of Dane's presence on Grey's Anatomy entirely. In Season 17, he returned briefly in Meredith's induced coma, appearing on the imaginary beach alongside Lexie, Derek Shepherd, George O'Malley, and Andrew DeLuca. Since leaving the series, Dane has rebuilt his career, taking on darker, complex roles. He played Cal Jacobs in Euphoria, the troubled father of Nate Jacobs, and more recently appeared in Bad Boys Ride or Die as McGrath, sharing the screen with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Justin Chambers. Alex Karev became one of Grey's Anatomy's most beloved characters, a surgeon who grew from a brash intern into someone capable of empathy and selflessness. But his exit in Season 16 left fans stunned and divided. Unlike earlier departures where the show killed off characters, Alex simply disappeared, and the reasons behind his sudden absence caused controversy. His send-off unfolded entirely through letters, revealing that he had left Seattle to reunite with Izzy Stevens in Kansas, a choice that clashed with his recent character development, particularly his relationship with Joe. This left fans conflicted. While Alex's decision to be a present father resonated with his personal growth, abandoning Joe without confronting her in person felt like a betrayal, a regression from the man he had become. The decision to leave was entirely Justin Chambers' own. After 15 years on the series, he wanted to diversify his acting opportunities and explore roles beyond Alex Karev. His departure wasn't the result of creative disputes or narrative dead ends. It was a deliberate choice to pursue new challenges. Since leaving, Chambers has taken on roles that pushed him into new territory. In The Offer, he portrayed Marlon Brando in the biographical limited series about the making of The Godfather, exploring a real-life figure vastly different from Alex. Most recently, he appeared in Accused as Taylor Schilling's character's antagonist, immersing himself in a high-stakes, morally complex narrative. Though rumors of a return circulated after a cryptic Instagram post, Chambers has made it clear he isn't planning to reprise Alex anytime soon. Reintroducing him would force the show to reconcile Alex's reunion with Izzy and the heartbreak he left Joe, complicating what had already been a contentious exit. For now, Alex Karev's story remains a closed chapter, a sudden, emotionally charged farewell that left viewers wrestling with loss, loyalty, and the choices that define a person. Jesse Williams. Jesse Williams left Grey's Anatomy in Season 17 when Jackson Avery decided to move to Boston and take over the Catherine Fox Foundation. The character's story had naturally reached a turning point, and Jesse felt it was the right moment to step away. Jackson had grown frustrated with the system and wanted to make a bigger impact outside the hospital. Jesse worked closely with showrunner Krista Vernoff to shape Jackson's final episodes, including a heartfelt reunion with April. His exit wasn't dramatic or sudden. It was a shared creative decision that also lined up with the end of his contract and his Broadway plans for Take Me Out. His last scenes with Ellen Pompeo were emotional, both as Jackson and Meredith and as two colleagues saying goodbye after years of working together. Even after leaving as a regular, Jesse returned for a few episodes, keeping the character alive in small ways. Moving Jackson to Boston gave the character a clear, meaningful path and left the door open for future appearances. It was a departure that made sense for both the story and the actor, Ellen Pompeo. Ellen Pompeo stepped away from Grey's Anatomy as a series regular in 2023, leaving Meredith Grey to move to Boston with her family. After more than 400 episodes, she left because she was ready to explore new projects, including a limited series that marks her first role outside Grey's since 2005. While she's no longer in every episode, Ellen remains connected to the show as an executive producer, provides voiceovers, and made a memorable return in the season 19 finale. She described her departure as not a complete goodbye, hinting that Meredith's story still has threads to explore. Now Meredith's journey centers on the Catherine Fox Foundation, where she is dedicated to researching a potential cure for Alzheimer's, marking a new chapter for the character while keeping her presence alive in the world of Grey's Anatomy. Katherine Heigl. Partway through Grey's Anatomy's 6th season, the world said goodbye to one of its original interns in a way that left viewers stunned. In the January 2010 episode, I Like You So Much Better When You're Naked, Isabel "Izzy" Stevens, played by Katherine Heigl, made her final appearance. To call Izzy's exit abrupt is an understatement. Fired from Seattle Grace Mercy West, she ran from the hospital and from the life she had started to build with Dralex Karev. When she returned briefly suggesting she and Alex might try again, he shut that door, and she disappeared forever. No final scene, no farewell moment, just a sudden departure that left fans reeling and rumors swirling. Leaving Grey's Anatomy wasn't unique. Characters came and went with surprising frequency. Patrick Dempsey's Darumor's Dr. Derek Shepard, McDreamy Dr. McDreamy, exited in Season 11. Sandra Oh's Dr. McDreamy, Dr. Christina Yang, moved to Switzerland in Season 10. Even Meredith Grey, the face of the series, left as a series regular in Season 19, though she remained as executive producer, narrated episodes, and occasionally appeared on screen, giving the illusion that she never really left. Yet Izzy's departure carried a different weight. It was abrupt, messy, and surrounded by whispers of tension behind the scenes. Katherine Heigl, years later, finally explained her side of the story. In Lynette Rice's 2021 book, How to Save a Life: The Inside Story of Grey's Anatomy, Heigl revealed that her exit had less to do with drama and more to do with life outside the show. When she and her husband, Josh Kelly, adopted a daughter from South Korea, her priorities shifted. The experience of being a mother changed everything for her. Her desire to work full-time waned, and she took 3 months off in Utah to focus on her family. This pause gave her clarity, and by the time she returned, she knew she needed to leave. She discussed it with Shonda Rhimes, waited at home, and was formally released from her contract. Heigl emphasized that the rumors of her refusing to return were completely false. By 2022, she also credited her mental health as a key factor in stepping away. She recalled that at the time of her departure, she felt as though the show was breaking her. She had been young and overwhelmed, and sensing the weight of the series' pace and demands, she admitted she was on the verge of illness. Grey's Anatomy had become a pressure cooker, and Heigl's decision to leave reflected a need to preserve herself both mentally and emotionally. Izzy Stevens within the show had always been a figure of brilliance tangled with impulsive choices. Introduced alongside Meredith Grey, Alex Karev, Christina Yang, and George O'Malley, she trained under the watchful eye of Dr. Young and Dr. Miranda Bailey. Izzy was undeniably talented, yet her empathetic streak often collided with professional boundaries. This conflict was most evident in her relationship with heart transplant patient Denny Duquette. Their brief engagement ended tragically after Izzy intervened in his treatment to give him a chance at life. only for Dane to die from a post-transplant stroke. Even after his death, she inherited a portion of his fortune, a reward entwined with scandal, leaving her professional credibility in question. The chaos didn't stop there. Izzy had an affair with George O'Malley, shattering the platonic bond they once shared and adding layers of tension to the narrative. Soon after, she faced a life-threatening diagnosis, metastatic cancer spanning her skin, brain, and lungs. The twist of Dane appearing as a hallucination during her illness only heightened the series' surreal drama. Through all of this, she survived when George didn't. His death, caused by being hit by a bus, left Izzy to navigate her own unraveling, drunraveling story. By season 6, the accumulation of personal and professional turmoil resulted in her firing and her vanishing from the Grey's Anatomy universe entirely. The drama surrounding her departure extended beyond the storyline. Behind the scenes, Katherine Heigl's relationship with Shonda Rhimes had become fraught. In 2007, Heigl won an Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress for her Dane arc, yet by the following year, she declined to submit herself for consideration, claiming her material wasn't strong enough. Though she later admitted that decision was poorly handled and unfair to the writers, the damage lingered. Shonda Rhimes, known for running a strict no a-hole policy on set, did not forget. By 2014, she publicly confirmed that toxic behavior was not tolerated, implicitly distancing herself from Heigl, even as Heigl's talent and contributions remained undeniable. Still, Heigl has acknowledged the larger impact of Rhimes' work. In a 2023 chat with Ellen Pompeo, she praised Grey's Anatomy for breaking barriers on network television, introducing diversity and complex female characters at a time when few shows dared to do so. Heigl admitted she hadn't fully grasped the significance as a young actress, but she recognized in hindsight that it was groundbreaking work, and she was proud to have been a part of it. Izzy's exit and Heigl's confession cast a long shadow over Grey's Anatomy's history. It was abrupt, yes, but it was also a decision rooted in life beyond the screen, a choice for family and mental well-being over career demands. It was a departure that reflected the cost of long-term stardom in a high-pressure, endlessly scrutinized environment. Izzy's disappearance, like the gossamer threads of her storylines, left fans speculating. But Heigl's own words finally cut through the rumors, revealing that the real reason she left the series was deeply personal, honest, and human. Katherine Heigl's decision to step away wasn't about drama or defiance. It was about survival, growth, and the pursuit of a life that no longer fit within the sterile walls of a fictional hospital. In the end, her exit was both an ending and a beginning, a farewell to a beloved character and a rebirth for the actress herself. Grey's Anatomy moved forward without Izzy, yet her mark remained indelible, a reminder that even in the world of scripted medicine, real human choices and sacrifices shaped the story behind the story. Which of the exits shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.